Now, we've watched as the Biden administration has weaponized the federal government to target and prosecute anyone who dares oppose their agenda. Now, among the most emblematic of such prosecutions was that of Mark Houck, Pennsylvania pro-life advocate who was arrested at his home for defending his son in an altercation outside of a Pennsylvania abortion facility. He was arrested in a highly politicized raid by the FBI more than a year after the incident. And he was facing more than a decade in prison. Now, Houck was acquitted unanimously on all charges. Houck has now filed a lawsuit against the FBI and the Department of Justice, noting both the faulty investigation and the use of excessive force by the SWAT team arresting him in front of his family. Joining me now to discuss this is Mark Houck. Mark, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thanks, Tony. Great to be back with you.
So I wanted just to set the stage because, it's been a while since you've been on and some people may have forgotten this account. There in Pennsylvania, local authorities refused to press charges on any of this. This thing was finished and done, right?
That's right. Within months of the original altercation, the DA didn't want to press charges. It was just a local problem handled by a private criminal complaint, which was totally dismissed in April of 2022, which was 6 months after the incident. And then, of course, the raid, like you said, was almost a full year later.
And this was based upon the FACE Act. This was a law that goes back to the Clinton era, that the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. Again, give us a quick overview of what happened that morning at your house.
Sure. Well, it was 6:30, 6:45 in the morning when a heavy bang came to my door, and the people outside, I didn't know who they were, could not see them, didn't announce themselves, just demanded that I open up the door. When I came to the door, I asked who they were. They said it was the FBI, banged again. I said, stay calm. I got 7 babies in here. And suffice to say, when I opened the door, there was 20 plus federal agents and PA law enforcement, state troopers on the lot with M16 guns and pistols pointed at me, and then eventually at my wife and 7 children. And they took me into custody about 3 minutes later with no warrant issued or presented to us at the time.
No warrant. They just arrested you based upon what?
Well, they had a warrant, but they didn't present it. And when we asked them for it, they said, we're taking him with or without a warrant. So once I was placed into custody, they turned over a cover sheet to a warrant. So it was a warrant for my arrest under the FACE Act, as you said, but they weren't prepared to offer it to us when my wife demanded that she see it.
So we know now this went on to court. You had to defend yourself in court, but they threw it out. There was no basis for them to bring these charges against you in the federal court. Is that correct?
Well, they tried to make the case that there was a basis, but 12 jurors of my peers said there was no case, and unanimously, it has to be guilty or not. They decided that there was no evidence and motive was not there. So it was total abuse of prosecutorial misconduct, I should say. And the way they handled the investigation from the FBI put my children in harm's way, put my wife at risk, put us all in grave danger. And so that's why we're suing the government right now.
So I commend you for that, because this is one of the ways that we hold the government accountable that is out of control. So tell us about this lawsuit and what you've heard so far.
Sure. So we filed 2 weeks ago our preliminary complaint that the government now has 6 months to reply to. This is just an initial complaint that has to do with basically things that can be itemized, lost income, and quantitative data that we have as a result of the raid. Ultimately, it will move towards something that's more punitive on a second level. But right now, this is the first wave where we're demonstrating the type of traumatic effects and effects that were brought on to our family as a result of this poor and dangerous decision on the part of the federal government.
And look, I'm a former law enforcement. I'm a law and order guy. I know you are as well. But when they cross the line and they politicize our system of justice. We have to hold them accountable. And I do hope that you go beyond just the quantitative damages here done to your family to make it punitive. Someone should pay a price for what they did to you, because it wasn't just about you. This was a message that they were sending to pro-lifers across this nation.
100%. And we will do that, no doubt. Look, the government in an instant took away the innocence, stole the innocence of my children in an instant.
Yes.
And, you can't put a price on that. These children have nightmares to this day. These children are alarmed every time an unannounced person comes to the property. You cannot imagine what the long-term effects are going to be. You can only just hope that all goes well. But, look, we see the immediate effects as a result of it. And, we're going to hold the government accountable because it's necessary in order to prevent this from happening to future Americans. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing it.
And I want to commend you for, you could just kind of sweep this under the rug, put it behind you and say this is the past. But you're doing this not just for yourself. You're doing this for the rest of America by holding out of control government accountable. So Mark, I thank you. Thanks for joining us. And I'll encourage our viewers and listeners to be praying for you and for your children, that this will be something that the Lord will heal in your family, because I know it was certainly traumatic.
Amen to that. And you know what? Kids are resilient, but God's grace was sufficient during the raid and during the trial, and it's certainly ever more abundant right now post all this. So thanks so much, Tony. God bless your work.
Thank you, Mark.